I don't know. Okay, we're recording.
Yeah.
It's nothing to be scared of, I don't think.
No.
Oh, you know what? We didn't check beforehand. It's fine. If anyone's watching a replay, we forgot to check that Morgan can share her screen. We'll
Oh,
get to that in a second.
okay.
Don't worry about it. This is Jason Stone. I'm going to do another interview, and this is completely backwards. Typically, I jump in and see how people use Logos in their own ministry or studies or authoring books, what have you. Morgan's completely new to Logos. And so we were just talking about a few mile markers or things that we could explore together. And I'm going to show my cards a little bit. I'm going to read this list to show you where we might be going today. And then I'll let Morgan introduce herself. And then we're just going to get into it because there's a lot to cover. So notes first clippings we'll probably cover. We'll definitely cover. Visual filters. Information versus power lookup, because she just said she's a fangirl of the information tool. Organizing resources, and then what are collections, and maybe collections being more helpful for organizing resources. But we'll get into some best practices and things that I've seen on the Logos side of things. But before we do, Morgan, thanks for just experimenting and trying this. And but more so, I hope that it's beneficial for you when we're done here. So why don't you say hello for a second, tell everybody a little bit of context, why in the world you're even using Logos, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, that sounds great. So my name is Morgan, and like you said, I'm basically a new user here. So I've had the platform for, maybe 3 months, but I wasn't using it a lot to start. And I have the max subscription, so I don't even know really what that entails compared to the rest of them, other than just the list on the website. I have recently started working on my master's degree through Redemption Seminary, and so we utilize Logos a lot for our coursework, and for all of our materials are basically in there. So I'm now in the platform on a daily basis, but I'm still new to it. So this will be really helpful to just kind of explore the features with somebody else versus just me kind of testing it out on my own.
Mm-hmm. What's your program at Redemption? What do you hope to do with it?
Is Master of Arts in Biblical Studies.
Okay.
Oh, I just started like 2 weeks ago, so it's brand new.
Awesome. Okay.
But it's awesome. It's a really cool program if anyone's interested in it.
Yeah, I'll definitely put the link in this video to make sure that folks jump in and check out Redemption and the partnership they have with Faith Life and Logos. And I think you get a library. Isn't majority of your coursework through mobile ed courses?
Yep,
Yeah.
That's great. So we're basically in Logos every day. Like for the majority of the coursework, you're using the program, and you do get a library where all of your books, essentially everything that you would need to do your course is in Logos. So you get the library, and then when you graduate, you get to keep the library, which is a cool perk. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're like 3 months into Max, you said, and a few weeks into your program, and
yeah.
So you didn't have any experience with like the mobile app or the web app or anything beforehand?
No, I think I had the free version technically, and maybe, once or twice I popped on there, but I didn't use the platform before.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask one more question? This is just like a tangent, just because I'm curious.
Right.
Why Redemption then? Is it like you were using Logos and you found Redemption through it or something, or you just were like?
No, it was actually, I found Dr. Michael Heiser. I think he was one of the founding board members, which is how I had originally heard of it. But I loved it because it, works with my schedule. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I need a little bit of flexibility where I can't be in a physical classroom during the day. And so I liked the format and the flexibility of that. But they also pair it with, they're called professor mentors. So you select a PhD professor mentor, and you work with them one-on-one through your course as well. So you still get that kind of professor interaction. And so I just love the balance of that, where you get to do your coursework on your own time, but also have that connection point. So yeah, that's basically why I chose it. I just love the format.
Yeah, this is not like a partnership with Redemption or anything. It sounds like it. They're recently accredited, I think, too, which is like nuts, which
Yep.
is so awesome. Okay,
Yep.
so I think let's get into it. I was like, I wonder how long it's been, but there's a lot to cover. Is my
Okay.
thought. So I'm going to share my screen, unless there's any questions you have outside of the list that
Not
we
to
had.
start, but if something comes up, I'll let you
All
know.
right, that's fine. I'll share my screen here. I'm going to jump into the actual program, and please interrupt me if there's anything that like you're like, what in the world? It's totally fine to interrupt me. So I'm going to pull up the list on the side. So the first thing I'm going to do, we're probably going to dive into notes versus clippings first. Oh man, that's like the scariest place to start. But we're going to, and that's fine. That's what it is. I'm going to move you over to the side here. So I'm going to find the close all button, which is down here on the bottom left. I'm going to just close everything. I'm going to wipe it clean. So you asked when we set up our call, you said, what's notes versus clippings? Are you using either one of them right now?
Notes is very clunky to me, but after your interview with Mike Chu, use clippings, and I was like, I love that. So I've been using clippings really over notes, but
Okay.
like in a beginner way.
Yeah. Okay. So clippings are great. Let's just say, you just wanted to grab some of this, and here you go. Can you see my right click or no? Did you see my context menu pop up?
No.
All right, I'm going to share my full screen. Let's present something else. Here you go. I'm going to hide you for a second. And so now you should be able to see the full screen. So if like right now you just wanted to take like this sentence and you just wanted to create that clipping that you're so used to doing now, you come over here on the right, you just click add clipping. And so if you were doing a study in like Jonah or Obadiah here, and you just wanted to collect a whole bunch of notes that you were doing on your study in Obadiah, then like you've got this like clipping going. Is that how you're using it right now?
Yeah. Yep. So I would create basically like a notebook is how I was viewing it, a title.
Yeah.
And then I was putting the clippings in it.
Yeah, I think that like it's like 2 ways to skin a cat. Is that how you say it? That's not how you should say it. But there's like multiple ways to do something similar. And of course you can go in and you can add notes to this. So you could add notes about Joseph or Flame or Stubble. You could add commentary on this, and then you can tag it as well. So if I wanted to keep track of this, then I could in the future I could hop over into my documents and I could filter down all of my clippings by my tags, and I could like find them that way, right? So it sounds like you're already using clippings the way that like I think majority of folks would be using clippings. Notes though, the only perk or like win that I was thinking using notes over clippings would be that the dynamic toolbar has it built into it, and so you can be adding notes and creating notes from the dynamic toolbar on the fly. Does that make sense?
Not fully.
Okay.
What do you mean
So
by on the fly?
yeah, let's just talk about notes real quick instead of clippings. And so if I wanted to create a new note or notebook, let me see if I can do 2 things at once. I'm going to open my notebook because I can't do 2 things at once. Oh dear. All right. I went too fast. And so I wanted to open my notes, and there it is. It's right here. I thought I just searched for notes and it didn't pop up, but I was simply moving too fast. So if I wanted to create a notebook and then organize all of my notes into that one particular like Obadiah notebook here, that'd be the way to create a notebook and then nest them into that one notebook, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then when I'm reading through my Bible and I wanted to show all of my notes and highlights for my Obadiah notebook, right? I just created it, so it'll take a second. But the dynamic toolbar has the like notebooks and notes tool built right into it right here.
Okay.
So that's like a big win, a big perk of using notes instead of the clippings tool.
Sure.
Okay.
So it integrates it into whatever resource that you're working out of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And it has that, like, more importantly, in my mind, it has it built into, this is called the dynamic toolbar. So this full like tool set that's here, it doesn't have the clippings built into it, but you can access the notes that way. So seems like that would be the way to go. It seems like that would be helpful. But either way, something else that comes to mind for the both of them is you could search them. And so if you wanted to search your clippings or if you wanted to search your notes, you could do either one, either way. And I don't think that there's a like better option for the two notes versus clippings. So that's all. I just wanted to also mention that you could also go back and like search them.
Yeah, that's great. And then a question on using the two of them. So I seem to be using it more so where I'm not writing really my own personal notes or thoughts. I'm taking selections and I'm wanting to save those selections, under a heading or under a notebook. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of why I was gravitating towards clippings, because it's very easy to just take all of those sections, but I could just be doing the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, totally. You could be doing the same thing. Like if I'm just going to keep going with Obadiah. We're doing it, say we're doing a study in Obadiah, we're doing some research, and there's this whole quote that I want to pull. I want to right click on it right here. Instead of going down to the clippings section and adding to my Obadiah clipping, I could do the same with my notebook that I have here. And by doing so, it actually created a new note within my notebook. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, I have Obadiah spelled wrong. But does that, yeah, is that helpful?
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then you could do like, you could even like I've got the Bible open right now. So I have the Bible open to Obadiah 18. And if I add an anchor, then it knows that I have my Bible open right now to Obadiah 18. And it's just going to drop that in there. But I could also change it if I wanted to. 12. So I could anchor this. And then when I'm reading my scripture, you see that I have my note marker here. I've got a little post-it and it's going to send me to this note because I just added an anchor. So
Yeah,
I guess that would be a win over clippings, is the ability to anchor it in that way.
yeah, that just from what you're showing me seems to be the win, is that it integrates back into your
Yeah.
resource.
Okay. So yeah, so you can add a whole bunch of notes, you can add a whole bunch of text. Of course, you can add images or you can add whatever you want to this note. And then you can add anchors here. So you can add whatever scripture reference you wanted to, and that will highlight across all of your Bibles, any Bible. So it's not linked directly to the ESV in this case. And then you can also search it. So yeah, as you're doing your research, you could go the route of notes, it sounds like. But I will say, and everybody would probably agree, that like the notes platform or the notes feature is pretty, like, man, Evernote or Bear, or there's all these like Apple Notes, all these things are like, so they're light years ahead of everything else. So,
Yes.
or ahead of like what Logos is doing. But it's hard. Like, I've also heard that it's really difficult for them to just like update the notes feature across the entire platform. So
I think that will be, when they're able to do that, a really big win, because I think that's probably why people steer away from it, is it just is a little clunky.
right.
Still, nice to have. Can you anchor, I'm assuming yes, but to a different resource? It doesn't have to be a Bible.
No,
Oh,
you
you
can yeah, you can only anchor to biblical reference.
Okay.
But you could, if I wanted to take this right here, here's something that may be what you're looking for. If I wanted to take this verse that's right here, or this part of this commentary, and put a link in my note, I could do that. And
Okay.
so if I come down here, let me see here. Oh, reference. Let me just double check here. there is a copy. It's like so many features. If you watch the interview that I just did, then you know if you're using like 5% of the platform, then you're using like a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things. So there's somewhere in here, and it's only because I'm recording right now. But the
Of
point
course.
is you can, maybe it's moved to this point right here. I can copy, there's a share button here. If I copy a link, okay, I
Mhm.
can actually take this link and put it into any of my notes, or I could put like Obadiah commentary, and then I could hyperlink this if this would be, you know, a cleaner way to go about doing this.
Sure.
And so now I've actually got a hyperlink. I've got a hyperlink here, and if I click this, I'm just going to close this out. This, in theory, should go directly back to the section here that I just clicked share, copy link, and then I copied that link into my note. So while you can't anchor to different resources, like this commentary that we have open, I could like grab a hyperlink to really any line in any of my books in my entire Logos library and put that reference into my note. Is that what you were thinking?
Yep. Yep. That's
Yeah,
great.
cool. Look at that. Very cool. So I'm gonna close that out. Anything else on notes and clippings? Like we just solved the whole notes and clippings right there.
Yeah. No, I think that's helpful. That's good.
Cool. So there was organizing resources, visual
Yes.
filters, information fangirl versus, I don't know, information versus power lookup, and then collections. What do you want to tackle next?
Organizing resources
All
will
right.
be a very helpful one.
So I have a thought here. This was something that you just threw at me like right before our call,
Yeah.
but that's
Sorry.
fine. I'm not scared. So first off, there's your own personal preference. Like you're in Redemption, you're taking courses. I did an interview with a Logos user, and he actually creates a Logos layout for every course that he takes. And so in his layout, he has all of his resources saved for that particular course, and then his notes are there as well. And he can essentially pull up his coursework for that particular course every time. And so he's got these resources are going to be prioritized to the top. So
I did feel that tip.
okay, cool. Yeah, that was like, I thought that was brilliant when
Yep.
Steve walked through that. But I was going to point out, of course, there's the prioritizing resources pane as a whole. If you haven't done any work, have you done any work in prioritizing your resources?
A little bit.
Okay, so there's Bibles, lexical works, like your original languages. There's Bible commentaries. There's dictionaries, and those are typically like the resources to prioritize. But if you want like specific resources for your courses to be prioritized, then like I would like consult your syllabus and pull those together too. But there are some users who have done, let me close this out. There's some users who have done entire systems essentially for organizing, and this would take a lot of work. Let me jump over. There it is, the information pane right here. So I haven't done this. I think that like kudos to those who have, but you can tag your resources if you aren't familiar with that. So you could jump in here and say like, priority 1, or however you'd like to sort your resources outside of prioritizing them for your Logos library using this tool right here. If you wanted to just organize them into like tags that are resources for ancient Near East, or resources for preaching, or resources for application, or daily devotionals, like there are ways that you could tag that way. And so some users have gone through their resources and then tag them in that way. So that's one piece that comes to mind.
With the tags, when would you put in a tag there versus a collection? Like, are those completely different
Yeah, so so collections would be used primarily for the search that that you explore, that you probably saw in the other interview. But collections would be used for if you wanted to search through only specific books and limit Logos to searching through only specific books, like your apologetics books. Then now I jumped into my search, I selected my books, I narrowed down my collection of books to only my apologetics, and now I can do a search for a term in that one particular collection. Okay, so it doesn't. So if all that you wanted to do was search and reference that particular set of books, like if you were doing a course, for example, and you're working on your final term paper, and you only want to consult the books in that particular course, you've got your collection made. You can do your search in that one particular like collection, and that would be great. If you're thinking about organizing your resources as far as your highest rated, or your most preferred, or just, do I have commentaries on Obadiah, or something like that, then you could use tags, or you could use some of the filters over on the far left here within your library to sort that. Does that help?
Yeah, it is. And I think I saw a video somewhere of somebody actually going through their like entire library and adding in those tags. Like it was a big task, but worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Including it.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't use it because Logos has done a lot of tagging already. And so if I wanted to consult only my Bibles, right now they're organized right now by type. So I could consult only my Bibles. And I could also use this same filter that's over on the far left to create a collection. Okay. So if I wanted to go through and manually do that, I could use any of these filters to do the same thing. Something else I wanted to, like, when you asked me about organizing resources, something else that came to mind that I've used before is community ratings. And so it's kind of like polling the Logos user base and saying, like, what are the 4-star, 5-star resources? And so I have like jumped into this before. Like if you saw a second ago, I had 47, I think, 1,000 resources. And I just went and I said, Logos, only show me my 4-star resources based on how the community has responded to those resources in the Logos store. And so now I have like those 4-star resources here. So that's another thing. If you wanted to, like, it's obviously not like hard and fast, like these are the best resources ever, but it'll give you a little bit of an idea, like, these are the 5-star resources that are in my library according to the Logos user base. And looking through these, like, yeah, these are pretty solid resources.
They are. Even just as you're scrolling, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of really good ones in this list.
Yeah, there's a Beale's commentary on New Testament use of the Old Testament, Moo's Epistle of Romans, Gentle and Lowly by Ortland. So there's a lot of great resources here. So that's another thing that came to mind when you asked about like how to organize my resources without like going through tons and tons of like tagging.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So any other questions on organizing?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm assuming that that's something that most users have to deal with because a lot of people have a lot of resources. So figuring out a system to organize them, everyone probably has to, and deals with that. With the prioritizing resources, I'm just thinking, is there a specific order that I normally see people do Bibles first, and then is there an order that you're supposed to follow with that?
Well, I picked it up from Morris Proctor in MP seminars, and I think that he was the one who had suggested the order that I shared a moment ago, which is Bible, like English Bibles, ancient language Bibles, and then Bible commentaries, individual commentaries, and lexical works. Okay. But I can double check that and even find where he sourced that and get you that too.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that, and let me double check. because that's how I would have done it. It would have been by, there's English Bibles. Then we get into Greek and Hebrew Bibles. Oh, there's Apostolic Fathers texts here as well. There's dictionaries, lexical works, and then there's commentaries and Bible commentaries. So I was a little bit off, but it's like those 5 or 6 different categories. And
Sure.
if you ever, what I was going to mention before we jump to the next thing would be these filters that are here. If you ever wanted to prioritize like your Bibles, for example, or your Bible commentaries, like just select one of these filters right here. And then right now I'm just choosing my English or my Bibles. And so if I wanted to do Bibles and I just wanted to filter my English Bibles, so now I'm getting into, it will really help instead of like trying to remember which resources I want to prioritize. I'm going to use the library filter that stuff down, and then I can prioritize a little bit more clean, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But those same filters that are right there, those will work over here. So I wanted to just mention that like these filters that we're looking at right here, I'm going to clear these filters. Type Bible. If I just click type Bible, this is what I'm looking at in my collection on the left side. So any of these that and language English, for example. So now I've narrowed down, I've done the same thing over here, and I've created a collection out of it. So I just wanted to make mention that like these same filters work as far as your collection creation.
Sure. Okay.
All right, I'm going to close that out. I think that, and then collections, we might revisit if you have any questions. What about these 3?
Visual filters. Okay, so for sure I want to cover the information versus power lookup because
okay.
Maybe
So
we'll do that next.
Yeah, this will be pretty, I think this will be pretty quick. So
Okay.
I'm going to open my Bible. I'm just going to open up the Bible to, let's just go to Genesis 1. So the Bible's open, and if I open up my, let's do power lookup. I'm also going to open up a commentary. Let's see here. Let's go to Job. All right, so power lookup, I think I have power lookup on click. Power lookup will just, oh, I don't have, that's information, sorry. All right, so power lookup will give me basically definite, let me see if I'm doing this right. I'm doing these backwards. I think I'm doing these backwards. Information is the click. Okay, I'm doing these backwards. Okay, let's do these backwards. Let's do them the other way. All right, so information, I have this set on click, right? Yeah. So information can be set on either hover or click. And the easy way to change that is just right in the 3 dots that are right here. So hover to me feels completely overwhelming. Anything that you hover on is going to like update. So if I just like hover, it's kind of like Factbook, but like fast is the easiest way probably to explain it. So information is going to give you information on that particular word without the context. So like if I'm reading Job 1 and I don't know who, I'm going to say it wrong, Uz or Ooze. Do you know?
I don't.
Know. So I don't, let's just say we don't know anything about the land of Uz. Someone tell me, I was about to say someone in the comments should tell me how to say it, but that doesn't work either.
Oh.
So anyways, so if I click on it, it's non-contextualized definition right here. It's translation information across different Bible translations. It's if I want to do a word study, this is a quick launch into a word study. So that's what's happening right here. This is like really just that on hover at the moment, but I'm going to change it to click so that whenever I click on something, I just clicked on the word great, consecrate, God. So it's a little bit more information about it. Power lookup would be all of the footnotes that are in your resource. So how it's typically used is to link set this. Okay. So I'm going to link set this to my ESV in this case. I'm going to do A to A. And any footnotes that you see in my English Bible here, like this little letter A next to us. So in my power lookup over here, it's going to actually give me all of those footnotes without me having to hover over them. And so the English translation of your Bible probably has it like this more commonly. And so as you're reading through your Bible, okay, then it's going to give you all of your footnotes. Or if I, let's just switch this to B for a second. This is also great for when you're going through a book. And so if, in this case, my power lookup right here just changed to how to read Job, and figure 2.2 right here, the triangle tension, it gives me some information about the triangle tension here. If you can see that in the bottom. Okay. So power lookup is going to read all of your footnotes to you without any click or anything like that. The easiest way to do it is to just do a link set, and that way it'll stay with whatever book that you're reading.
Okay, so it's primarily a footnote feature.
Footnote or notes, yeah. Yeah, so anything that's going to give you that like reference information, that like the text that you're reading is just kind of like putting for further reference. Yeah, it's going to just put all of that in this side panel for you.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's very different from the information.
Yeah, information is great though. Like keep it and like click on it, and you could just easily dive into basically anything.
Okay, that's helpful.
All right, we got visual filters and any more collection questions that you have.
Yep, we're working through these at a good speed.
I'm not scared. So, okay, so visual filters. How are you using them? You said you started using them.
Yeah, I was just browsing around, so I think it was through the public search.
Okay, good.
It's just like, that's where I'm doing a lot of searching, is just on the public, seeing what everybody else has out there. And so I downloaded one, and it was just one that shows, where it's the divine name or the other names of God. So I've just been playing around with one. So really, I was just kind of curious, is how do people normally use visual filters? Like what's a go-to?
Yeah. So the sorry, the divine names comes to mind. Yahweh, Elohim, Adonai. And then another one that comes to mind is plural or singular pronouns. And so there are a lot of times in scripture where you're not sure what you means, if it's you collective or you individual, and the visual filter can help you see that before you like hover over the text in order to see what the pronoun is. And then another one that I thought was fun. Let me see if I can. Dynamic toolbar. So you haven't seen the dynamic toolbar before and after. So a lot of people are getting used to it. What's that?
This is all I know, is the one that is on the subscription, which is the dynamic.
Yeah. So it's all good. I'm getting there. If you or anyone ever has difficulty with the dynamic toolbar, like this is the thing that probably throws me off the most, is as I shrink my screen, they turn into these icons. And if I enlarge my screen, then I can actually see where things are.
Yep.
And so that's a good tip for anybody who is having difficulty with the dynamic toolbar, which is a lot of people.
Yeah, they lost something in the toolbar.
Yeah.
hiding.
because it's shifted around.
Yep.
But a fun one, I guess, a fun one. Another one that comes to mind is this one here is when the speaker, like you're used to the red letters of Jesus. And I remember creating this one because this is the red letters of God, essentially. In the Old Testament, if you want to see when God is the speaker, you can like all I did is I turned on a visual filter and now I see when God is speaking, right? And so I thought that was, I don't know if you want to say it's practical or what, but that's something that you can't do with the text Bible is just go find a red letter Old Testament,
Yeah.
which I did on the fly right there.
I think that that's a great one. Is that a public one?
Oh, well, I was about to say if it's not, I could make it public. Yeah, let's see.
Or here, so this is how you would make it yourself. You would just do speaker.
Yep, and it's now public. Speaker equals God. So yeah, you could jump into that. If you haven't created any of them at all, this is like a simplistic visual filter. And all I did here is speaker would be God, and I want to change the foreground of the text to red. And then I save the name of it here as speaker equals God.
That's a great one.
So yeah, that's a simple one right there. I think those are a few that come to mind. Let me see if there's any other ones that jump up. Oh yeah, I remember testing this one, so I don't know. I wonder if you found our test of it. But let me show you a quick tip. I think before we started recording, or as we started recording, I wanted to show you a quick tip. I mentioned wanting to show you a quick tip because sometimes it's difficult to create these when they're Hebrew based or Greek based. And this was something that we ran into. And so if you ever want to find, maybe that didn't make sense. It'll make sense in a second. So if like every time the word Judah was mentioned here, instead of going over here and creating a visual filter for the word Judah, a lot of times it's more helpful to find the lemma, okay? And I'm not sure where you're at with your studies or whatnot, but the lemma is just the dictionary form of the Greek or the Hebrew. So it's the rawest, most original form. And so what at least we found by trial and error was to come over here and to select the Hebrew Bible word study, and then find the lemma form of it that's right here, and then copy the actual lemma form and paste that into the visual filter. So when you're using your visual filter, you're not searching the English, you're searching, in this case, the Hebrew Elohim, and you're using the lemma to create that purple foreground. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. That's if you take that idea and you apply it to really any way that you want to mark up your biblical text, then that's how visual filters can be applied to really any of them. So if you wanted to see every single time the word people or every single time the word you plural is used, then probably the easiest way to do it is to pop in, do a right click, and find exactly what you're looking for in the context menu. And so in this case, maybe you want to find the morphological, like the actual declined form, which is like noun, common, singular, absolute, and you want to find every occurrence of this particular Hebrew word in the Old Testament. And so you come over here and you want to copy the actual declined form of it.
Sure.
And then you take that and you apply that to a visual filter instead of having to guess at it, which is the other way to go here, is to go, I wonder how to do this. And that's where that's where it gets kind of difficult to create visual filters. That's kind of like a cheat code.
Yeah, no, that's a great tip.
Okay. I don't know if that's too much or if it's
I
helpful,
don't
but
know. No, that's perfect.
okay. And then you could jump in here, enable your visual filter, and go ahead and read through, you know what I mean? So yeah, there's another one actually. Okay, one more before we wrap up visual filters is imperative verb. That's another one that folks like to use a lot. An imperative is when you're being told what to do. And so I just turned on the imperative verb visual filter. And so now you see whenever the subject or the speaker, God, gives an imperative, which is like telling them what to do. So God is telling them to say and to return. And so that's another instance where the visual filter really just like had those verbs jump out.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's another great one. Is that one public as well, or how would you make something like that?
So I've got imperative. Actually, I have it right here. Imperative, and it is it's now public. So what I did, there you go. So what I did there is I used the morph. The V means it's a verb. The question mark that there means it doesn't matter who the subject is, and the M means it's an imperative. So it's just an imperative verb in the Hebrew form.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a helpful one. I love the public features because it's really helpful to just get ideas from other users. So
yeah,
that's great.
yeah. Go shopping. That's what I
Yeah.
always say. Is jump in here and go shopping. See if there's any in the public. But there's also some groups over at faithlife.com that you can join. There's plenty in the group side as well. So you just the more you dig in, the more you'll find.
Mm-hmm.
I just glanced over to the right, and you can see the instances of. It looks like Elohim, God is in purple, and then Yahweh,
Yep.
the Lord, is in red. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Is that helpful? Is there anything else on the visual filters?
Yeah, it's really helpful. So it seems like there's maybe some visual filters that people just leave on for their normal reading. And then there are other ones where you can make it very specific to something that you're studying. And you can turn those on and off depending on how you need to use them. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Like there are some markups that people use, and so you can grab those from public and say like anytime the word temple is used or anytime the specific words are used, then you'll like see it and know. And so yeah, that's just like for everyday like devotional reading or something like that. But you could also say I'm doing a paper on this particular word in the New Testament, and I want to make sure that I see it as I'm doing my research. So that's another option.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Great.
I think collections was I think we tackled it, but I feel like we tackled it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with collections, that's one where I haven't utilized it at all, but I think it will be very helpful once I set it up. So seeing it,
shopping.
yeah, has been helpful. There was on one of your other videos, you again with the making the stuff public, but there was somebody who shared their collection set and made it public. But then I realized after downloading it that you need to have the resources in order to see the list, which was the only part about the public, because I was like, I would have purchased probably a lot of resources if I could see, a sample list. But so that was the only thing that I figured through that. But yeah, I think I need to set those up because that will be really helpful.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
I just took a breath. I was wondering if you had any other questions or if anything else.
I don't think so. I'm just looking at my logos here. That was really helpful. I don't know. I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
So it's kind of time to just get into the platform and start putting some of it together.
Yeah, you can link your resources in your notes that you're doing your research. You can make some collections maybe out of some of your books and your courses, and like be able to, like, if a professor says, I need you to write a paper on this particular this set of books, which they typically do is limit it to the resources that are in the syllabus, then you have your collection. You can do your research from there. Clippings is helpful, but I think notes might be more robust. But if you're just doing devotional, or if you're just doing like reading and collecting ideas, then you can collect clippings that way. But notes might be better for like seminary, I would feel. And
Yeah,
then
test those out.
if you go through and tag your resources, kudos. But I feel like at least you have some filters and you have some community ratings that you can like maybe lean on some others and see how they rate the books and what you could prioritize. At least give you some ideas to sort your library that way. And then
Yeah.
visual filters, go shopping and see what you can find. But if you do have a paper or something like that where you need to find a lexical form or a particular like declined form of a verb or a noun or something like that, then you could grab that and put it in a visual filter so that you can read through the Bible and have that like jump out at you that way. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
great. One thing I'm thinking of with collections now is, so obviously you can make it very tailored, a small, specific to what you're studying, but what are the most common collections that people would create? I know I've seen like Second Temple literature, or what do you normally see as being a good starting point?
A few that come to mind are like eras, like ancient Near Eastern background, Second Temple, or intertestamental time. Like those two come to mind. Bible backgrounds, and then theology or like systematic theologies or something like that. And then books of the Bible, so specific resources for particular books of the Bible. Like there's going to be a lot of books in your library, and if you want to focus on like your more preferred resources, instead of just doing a search, you could create a Bible collection or a collection on a particular book of the Bible. So those are some that come to mind. Yeah, I mean, those are the big ones probably that come to mind.
Yeah, okay, that's helpful. Okay, last question just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Is there like a save for later feature or something? Like if you're coming upon a resource and you're like, ooh, I want to save that or read that later. Is there any sort of like favorites or a save or anything like that where you
There's
can
there's a read later tag that a lot of folks will do, and on mobile it's more default to add a read later tag to it. So that's if you own it and you want to like get into it later. I would just throw a tag on it that's a read later tag. If you don't, there's a wish list and you want to add it to your store.
Sure.
Wish list that way. So
you would put a tag on it just as read later.
Yeah, I think there is one in your library by default, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Or you could create a note and say, this is a book that I want to read later, or like just one note that's just a read later note. You go that route too.
Okay. Great.
But the tag, I think, is this pretty standard way to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Well, I hope this is helpful for you. I think that there'll be a lot of fruit from it when folks watch the replay. So I'm glad that we walked through it. Just put me in the hot seat this time.
I know, this was great. It's like the opposite of all of your other interviews, but it's kind of nice to hear your tips and tricks as well. And yeah, so this is really helpful.
Cool. Well, I hope your studies are blessed. I mean, that's a big undertaking. So I'm glad you're doing it. I'm excited for you. And I have another friend who's at Redemption right now. So I'm excited that you're going through it. So.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's been awesome so far.
All right. Well, shout if you have any questions, of course, in Facebook, or throw them on this YouTube video or whatever it is. So cool. Okay. Thanks, Morgan, for your time.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Of course.